I was attending the civil rights movement just as a person in the audience. Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth heard me sing, and Nims Gay and I went to his church to sing with our choir. And then we had a mass meeting. That was one Sunday night. We had a mass meeting that Monday night. And he appointed me and Mr. Gay to start a choir to sing at all of the mass meetings. And so we sang at all of the mass meetings. That was back in 1959, in the month of July. I'm not sure what date that was, but we started a choir. He chose the president of that choir, one of the Hendricks brothers. They've all passed away now. But he chose one of the Hendricks brothers as the president of that choir. So we started meeting, and we would always meet on a Saturday night. The reason we met on a Saturday night was not to interfere with any of the meetings that the churches were actually having during the week. Nobody met on Saturday night. Because believe it or not, there were some ministers who did not agree with what Reverend Shuttlesworth was doing and the organization that they had chosen. They didn't want any parts of it at all. However, there were many members from their churches who were involved. Even if the pastors were not involved, many members were involved. So the choir started increasing. Different people, we knew a lot of people who sang, and we started inviting them to come and join our choir. Some did, some did not. The reason I think some of them did is, in fact, they told me the reason, because we were nonviolent. And one lady that we wanted to play for us, who played very well, and she said, I will not be a member because if anybody hits me, I'm going to hit them back. We were not allowed to do that. As nonviolent, we were told if they hit you, you cannot hit them back. Whatever they do to you, you cannot respond. We could not be violent with them. So that was very hard for some people. And to tell you the truth, it was pretty hard for me. I had to do it with a lot of prayer. But the Lord helped me to go through it. I'm really very thankful to the Lord that I was in that movement, because it really helped me to see things a lot different than I would see them had I not been in that movement. I probably would have gotten into something violent because my spirit was telling me I need to fight back. But I knew that was wrong. And the preachers that were preaching to us was giving us scriptures and telling us why we were not to fight back. And we were supposed to be an example of what Jesus Christ was. And he took a lot, and he never fought back. So we had to live that kind of life too. But it's not easy to do this. But I'm really glad that I did. I'm glad that I did. I do see some similarities with people with disabilities and what we went through with during the civil rights movement. Yes. Sometimes I go places and I don't see places set up, even for me. I'm on a wheelchair. I'm on a walker. Not even set up for me with a ramp. I have to lift it up over steps. A ramp should be at all of these buildings for people with wheelchairs and rollers and whatnot. It's very hard sometimes getting around when there are buildings that you're going to that's not set up to accommodate people with disabilities. And I think that need to be looked into more than it is being looked into. Sometimes I think maybe they have these availabilities and we are not informed of them, which also is very bad. If you don't know they have it, how do you know how to use them? How do you know they have them if you're not informed about it? I do recall going to a program a few Sundays ago when my choir was singing, and there was nothing but those tall steps. I knew I couldn't get down those steps. And I asked around, how can I get down where my choir is? Nobody seemed to know. I was not able to sing with my choir on that Sunday. But I didn't let that rest. I said, I am going to call the mayor. And that's what I did. The next day, Monday, this was on a Sunday. Monday, I called the mayor's office, and they referred me to Linda Coleman. Linda Coleman explained to me, she's married, and I don't remember her married name, but she explained to me that that place is set up for disabilities. But we didn't know it, and nobody seemed to know how to tell us that. So for that reason, I think everything should be out in the open, and you post it where people will know where to go if you are disabled, if you are in a wheelchair or a roller or whatnot. It should be posted. How do we know if nobody tells us? And we asked around, and nobody could tell me how to get to my choir. I didn't like that very much. I was not able to sing with my choir this Sunday because I couldn't go down those steep steps. Where I live, at one time, my brother's living with me now. At one time, I was living alone. But I got someone who goes to my church to build a ramp to go to my house. I am at a church that cares about everybody, and especially seniors and young people. And my pastor says all the time, if you want to make him mad, mistreat some of my seniors or mistreat some of my babies. He called other young people his babies. And he will really get on anybody about mistreating us. So this man came out and built me a beautiful ramp at my house. Then I needed some work done in my house also. He sent him out to do that. So I'm in a very caring church. One of the churches that was involved during the civil rights movement back in the 50s and 60s. The New Pilgrim Baptist Church. I don't know if you've heard of that church or not, but that's my church membership. But they are beautiful people, beautiful, who feed the homeless every day downtown, and who give baskets of food twice a month. They help people pay their utility bills, so they do a lot to help disabled people, and they have a saying, they are trying to help the last, the least, and the lost. That's their motto. We're helping the last, the least, and the lost. I love that about them. Tomorrow is when they're having that tea that I'm going to go to. So that's why I had to come today to do my interview. There are a lot of things that have improved since the demonstration that we did back in the 60s, in 1963. There's still some things need to be done. It's not, we don't live in a perfect world, but it's a lot better than it used to be. I can recall a lot of things that went wrong before we had that demonstration in 1963 that have changed somewhat. But as I said, nothing is perfect. We are not perfect people. But I think we're getting there someplace. We're getting there. I tell the young people, we go around every, especially in February, we go around to different schools and things and talk to the children about our experience when we were put in jail in 1963. I went to jail the very first day the demonstration started here in Birmingham, and I spent 5 days in jail. That was not too pleasant. The main thing about it was the food. It was horrible. And I didn't know that they didn't allow you to have sugar when I was in jail, because they had coffee, and I love coffee. But I couldn't drink it. I don't drink black coffee. I have to have sugar and cream in my coffee. I want my coffee integrated. But they don't have sugar. They didn't have sugar in jail. And I told them, why didn't you all tell me that? Because I could have smuggled some in my purse. So I could have at least had some sugar in my coffee and had coffee because the food was so horrible. Now, they did have one meal that was very good, and that was breakfast. The breakfast food was good. They had strychnine white meat, and somebody could make some good biscuits and syrup, and that was right down my alley. But you had to eat it at 5 o'clock in the morning. But that was okay. I'd get up at 5 and have that good breakfast because I knew I wasn't going to eat anything else that was really decent. Before I went to jail, Dr. King had a meeting with me and the students from Miles College. I'm older than they were, and he put me in charge. And he asked me, he knew I was working. He asked me, you have any money? I said, a little. So he reached his hand in his pocket, gave me the change that he had in his pocket. He said, put this with your money because you won't be able to eat the food. And he was so right. They had those beans, those white beans, with no grease, no meat, nothing, just cooked in water and salt. I guess salt, I don't know. But, I don't know about you, but black people like greasy food. You're going to have some grease somewhere. We just couldn't eat that food. But what we did was we would send the trustees out to get snacks for us, like cheese, crackers, milk, orange juice, and we survived those 5 days. And he told us, you can make it, you're going to survive, and we did. We did. But we did a lot of singing and praying in jail, and the regular prisoners were asking us to do that. At one point, almost the whole choir, the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Choir, was in jail. Every time I'd see one coming, I asked, oh, here comes some more choir members. We can sing tonight. And they would all ask us to sing. We were singing in jail, just having a ball, having a good time. The reason we were having such a good time, we knew we had done no wrong. They put me in jail for trying to eat where the white people were eating. Now, I wasn't asking them to give me any food. I was working. I was going to pay for my food. But later on, I found out that here in Alabama, they had it on the books that black and white, it was illegal for black and white to congregate together. That's why we had to go to jail to take that off the books. So eventually, the jails were filled. Nobody could get in the jail. I mean, the children took care of that. When the children started going to jail instead of going to school, then the big people wanted to talk to Reverend Shuttlesworth and all of those in charge, wanted to know what can we do to stop the demonstration. So they gave them a list of things that they could do, giving jobs to black people where they needed to go. That broke up a lot of that. What's made it better? At one time, you could go to the courthouse here in Birmingham. You didn't see a black person behind a desk. The only thing you could see was some black people running the elevator or being a maid. You go down there now, you don't see anybody hardly but black people. They're running it. They're doing everything down there. So that's the changes that I've seen, changes like that. I was never really in the organization of the movement or anything, so I can't give them any advice on how to organize. But I can, what I think about anybody, if you see something, report it. If something is going wrong, don't keep it within. Talk to somebody about it. Even if you have to go up to the highest person, you start at the low and go on up if you have to. But report it. Don't keep it within, because you're hurting yourself when you keep it within yourself. It's going to create envy in you. But you express yourself and see if you can get some help. Because when things are illegal, sometimes they're still going wrong when somebody tells you about it, but if nobody knows that they're doing illegal things, they can't do anything about it. So if they do know, maybe they can. And you'll never know whether they can or not until you let them know. You let them know yourself that you're being mistreated. Speak up, I think. The night that I went to, and Dr. King had prayer with me and the students at Miles College, my parents were living up here. I was raised on the farm in Dallas County. But we talked my dad into moving up here with my mama because she was sick and she needed to be close to a doctor and getting to the hospital and a doctor. So I told my sister and I lived together. She was also involved in the demonstration. She passed away in 2010, but she was also involved after one of us had to be at home. I went first and then she went. I knew I was getting ready to go to jail, so I told my sister, I've got to call Mama and Daddy and tell them I'm going to be going to jail in the morning. And so I did call them. She said, it's kind of late. I said, yeah, but they always watch the 10 o'clock news, so they'll be up. So when I called and told my mom, and she said, if I wasn't sick, I'd be right there with you. That gave me courage. And my dad took the phone, and he said, I will be praying for you. That made me and my sister know that they were in accord with what we were doing. If we had thought they would not want us to do this, we wouldn't have done it. My dad said something needs to be done. And my mom said, I've been waiting for somebody to join in to help those ministers. They need help. And she said, if I was not sick, I'd be right there beside you, going to jail. And that was all I needed to know. Oh, there were people who talked about me and my sister so to our faces. I mean, telling us how stupid we were. That didn't bother us. They had not been to these meetings and listened to what was going on. You sit under these ministers and you hear them, and they are bringing you God's word too, telling you, the truth from the Bible, and giving you courage to go out there. And once we started singing those songs, that was giving everybody, all those people in the audience, courage to get out and join and get, in the line. Because you had to get in the line and you sign up and promise that you could be nonviolent. You could not just go in because they didn't want anybody fighting. And that's the only way we won. We couldn't have won anything fighting because we couldn't have gotten the help that we got from President Kennedy and his brother. They would have ignored us if we had been out there violent and acting silly like these people are doing now with guns, That doesn't work. That's not going to work. Besides, we had no weapons. All the weapons, the white people are the one who had the weapons. They would have killed us just like that. We'd have been gone. But by doing what we thought was right, the right thing to do, and they were always teaching us love. Regardless of how they treat you, you still have to love them. That's what Jesus told us. We got to love. So this is what we were being preached all the time at the mass meetings. You've got to love everybody if you want to get to heaven, and I do want to get there. You can't go there with hate. The music was very important to the mass meeting. Music is international. Everybody loves music. Music of all kind, Before Carlton started writing freedom songs, I wrote my freedom song before he did his. I wrote the song "I'm on My Way to Freedom Land" before Carlton was playing for us. There was another young man playing for us at that time. But when Carlton came aboard, he started writing a lot of freedom songs. We were singing just regular songs that we sang in church, every Sunday, from the hymnals, songs that we knew that we sang, gospel songs, really a gospel choir. And there were people who told us that they came just to hear the choir. There were people who would tell us at these mass meetings, say, I didn't go to my church yesterday. I was waiting to come here because I knew I was going to hear some good preaching and some good singing. So it was exciting to them to hear us sing. And were some good singers here in Alabama, in Birmingham. There were some very good singers. Some have made it national. Singing is very important to inspire people. And that's what the choir was doing, inspiring people to go and sign up and say, I want to be a part of this movement. I want to go and see what I can do to help. And when the school children got involved, they were singing on their way to jail. They were still singing some of those freedom songs in the paddy wagon going to jail. Their parents were sending them to school. They had their school books, but they were in jail. Some of the parents were upset, and some of them were joining them. Some of the teachers really were afraid to come out because they know they would have lost their jobs. However, they knew it was the right thing to do. So they would pretend that they couldn't see what was happening and let the children go on and do what they do. Actually, if it had not been for the children, I don't think we could have gotten the things that we got. But the children, they were very excited about the singing and about the marching and going in, in jail. It was fun to them. It was fun. Dr. King was such a great man. He was such a down-to-earth man. I mean, he had all these, well, he was an educated man, He was not a dummy at all. He had gone to college. He had, degrees. But he could sit and talk with anybody. It did not matter. He did not look down on anybody. Anybody could run a conversation with him. I was writing insurance at the time I went to jail for Booker T. Washington Insurance Company as an agent going around from door to door, knocking on doors, which was also very good because I had contact with a lot of people. And I was in jail for 5 days, and there was a special agent who worked my debit while I was in jail. There was a contest going on while I was in jail that I didn't even know about. And then after I got out of jail and they had the picnic at Dr. Gaston's house. A.G. Gaston, I'm sure you've heard of him. He was the black millionaire who owned the company that I worked for. They had the picnic at his house, and I won a trip to Chicago. I didn't know about it. I had left. It was on a Saturday. I had gone to choir rehearsal. And they were calling my name, and I was already gone. I had won the trip to Chicago to the insurance convention. When I got there, I looked at the program. I said, oh, Dr. King is our speaker. So I was rooming with the girl from the company from Mobile. And she was, Mobile, they weren't involved in it. And she said, oh, you know him? I said, sure. So when he walked in, I went up, before it started, went up to the podium, and he got up and he hugged me and kissed me. He said, what are you doing here? I said, and I told him, I said, I won this trip. And I said, and I won this trip while I was in jail, and I didn't even know that this guy did such a fabulous job working my debit. He wrote new business for me. He just did a great job. And I said, he won this trip for me. I had such a great time. And then I went back. She said, you do know him. He hugged you. I said, yes, I know him. But he was that kind of person. He was really a wonderful, wonderful man. That was the saddest day of my life when he was assassinated. That was a really, really sad day. Really. We had to rely on each other. to help each other. When we saw somebody giving down, the rest of us would go to them and keep them from going down and talk to them. It's going to get better. It's got to get better. It's got to get better. It's not going to stay this way. What you're doing is important. Don't give up. Hang in there. And we will support for each other. That was the only way we made it. We had to be support for one another. It's just like I tell people at my church now, they don't know how much of support they are to me. When I go to my church, and I was telling them that because I'm a sick lady, but I'm going around, I'm still doing everything I want to do, going where I want to go. My doctor said I have leukemia, I have blood clot, I have arthritis, that's why I have this walker. But I very seldom miss a Sunday at church. I very seldom miss anything that I want to miss at church. And when I told them how they were inspiring me, they said, "You're such an inspiration to us. When we see you keep going, that's why we have to keep going." And I'm older than they are. I'm 88 years old, and some of them are much younger than me. But I say, okay, but it's only God. I can't do nothing without him. It's God that's keeping me. And I'm so glad I have him in my life. I couldn't do anything without him. Hold on. I tell everybody, hold on. I sing a song in my choir, I'm just holding on. Not that choir, my church choir. I'm holding on, and I won't let go of my faith. You can't let go. I'm holding on, and I'm going to continue to hold on. What I mean by that is I turn my problems over to God and let him work them out. When I go to my doctor and they look at me, they say, "You're still smiling." I have a smile on my face because God is still keeping me. My parents did not live to get my age. Neither of them. My oldest sister is 98 years old. I have something to smile about. I have a whole lot to thank the Lord for. So, and when you think of your situation, this is what I tell the young people. Whatever it is you're going through, when you think of your situation, there's somebody going through something much worse than you. But they're still hanging in there. Do not become discouraged. Continue to hold on. And always remember, there is someone who cares. There is someone who cares, and that's God. If nobody else cares for you, God does. I'm very thankful that I'm in a big family that cares. I'm very thankful that I'm in this choir who cares. There are people who are going to see that I get where I need to get in my choir that I'm in. This lady, when I told her what happened, she said, "We'll make it happen today. That's why I'm here." She could have said, I don't have time, but she never turns me down. She never. The only thing I can think of that kept the movement together was prayer and the sermons that these ministers were preaching to us. These ministers were strong ministers. We don't have the kind of leaders that we had then. Those leaders believed in what they were saying. They lived what they were saying. Fred Shuttlesworth was beaten several times, but he kept going. He didn't let things discourage him. When we could see a strong leader like him, and he was not a big man, he was a small man, but he just kept on taking the lickings and just kept right on ticking, no matter what. He wasn't going to let anything turn him around. And most of those leaders were that way. That's what gave us the strength. You got leaders, strong leaders, is what we need, and we don't have that now. We have too many people who are into self rather than into trying to help other people. And their thing was trying to help others. Trying to help others. My advice to younger people, and there are some much younger than I am who are in wheelchairs or on walkers or whatnot. But my advice is to hold on and never give up. That's the only thing I can say. Hold on and never give up. And depend on the Lord to help you. He will help you. He will help you. I know this. I know that He will. This young man who used to play for us, after Carlton Reese passed away, named Sam Robinson, who was going through something. He's been really, really sick. And I got up a group of people to pray for him. I talked to him last week. He was supposed to go. We went to Baltimore, Maryland, well, Rockwood, Maryland, where we did a concert in January, where we did King's birthday. We were at the center. He was supposed to go and play with us, but he couldn't go because of one of his eyes. He was blind in his right eye. And we were just continuing to pray for him, you know. I talked to him last Saturday. He told me he was seeing. He's driving now. You know, this gives me courage and let me know if you hold on, I can see the prayers being answered that we prayed for him. And you just have to, you can't limit God. He's a man you cannot limit. He's an all-seeing God. Well, I'm very happy about that I was involved with the civil rights movement. Wish that I could have done more, and wish that I was able to do some of the things now that I did then. But my body won't let me do that at my age. But I'm still going to talk as much as I can, tell my story as much as I can, to try and hope it's helping some of the younger people. That's my aim, to help the young people. I hope that's what I'm doing.